and we are back with another show, 12th man in the house. And do you know what? It's time. It's time to discuss Alexander Isak again. Newcastle fans in the chat, look away now. Cover your eyes. There's other channels. No moaning. Please respect in the chat. Isak is not being confirmed as leaving, so please don't cry too much. But we do have to discuss it. And to do that with, I've got one of my guys, one of my favorites, Liverpool fan in the house, Redmen TV, regular Errol. Come on, man. What are you telling me?
Big up, bro. Big up. Nah, man, it's all good. It's good to be back. As I say, it's been a whirlwind of a couple of weeks. I've taken a little bit of a break, but for obvious reasons. And yeah, it's just good to come back to some more positive football-related news, man. Definitely. So big up everybody in the chat as well. Get those likes in early. You know what I'm saying?
Big up, man. You heard the man. Make sure that you are hitting the like and subscribe. Live chat. There is a link for Match Bingo. Make sure you've downloaded it. Make sure you're playing it. Big up to everyone that's won already. Arsenal in the leaderboards have now got themselves ahead of Liverpool. Finally, we've got a little league table going on, Errol, and Liverpool have been winning. I didn't realize I had this many Liverpool fans on my channel, but they seem to be smashing the Match Bingo. Arsenal have now taken the lead. Newcastle are in third. Is that how the league table is going to end next season? We'll have to get into that. That's for sure. But yeah, me and Errol are going to talk about all things Arsenal, all things Liverpool, and of course touch on the Alexander Isak news. Make sure you do hit like and subscribe, and that you're following Errol as well, and you're following Redmen TV. I've got to be honest, man. I didn't really want to start it on too much of a downer, but I haven't actually spoke to you on a show other than on WhatsApp. Other than the Diogo Jota news, which is just absolutely horrific, and I can't believe that you wake up to that. And there's only been a couple of times where I've woke up believing that it was like fake, like it was a fake report, and then quickly you kind of realize that can't be fake because that's just sick if that's fake. Do you know, you go through those emotions? And look, as an Arsenal fan, I'm a huge lover of Arsenal Football Club, but I'm a football fan at the same time. And I was always a fan of him. I hated playing against him for obvious reasons because he loved the goal against Arsenal. And it's been horrific news, man. So I don't want to go into it too much because I feel like, we wanted to try and make a bit more of a joyous show. And I feel like we've done that now in terms of a time and a place. And I just wanted to mention it, seeing as you were on, because obviously it would have affected you probably as much and maybe even more than it did me.
Yeah, no, I completely appreciate that. And again, from your response, your channel, other content creators that don't particularly support Liverpool, I think the wider football community have all responded to it in a way that you'd expect humans to. Do you know what I mean? There's that compassion, there's that empathy there. But of course, the internet age that we live in, the tribalism, sometimes it can that messaging can get lost. But to a man, to most of the content creators that I spend my time watching, and when I'm not on screen myself, everybody gave really fitting tributes, dedicated a little bit of the airtime to Jota, his family, his brother, to Liverpool Football Club. So from a fan content creator's perspective, massive respect to everybody that took the time out to understand the magnitude of what this was. And then from a Liverpool, as a Liverpool fan, as a lad from Liverpool, I was devastated, bro. Like, in terms of how it broke to me, I'm on a call with my manager. I'm having a conversation. I've just finished the early morning meeting. And the next minute he said, his missus has just told him that Jota's died. And I'm thinking, he's an Evertonian as well. So I'm thinking, this is a bit of a sick joke. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously, and because I was on the phone and I had been out of the house from proper early, I didn't really check my phone in the morning. I was like, look, my phone's not blowing up yet, but the second I get off this call, if I look at my WhatsApp and it's just blowing up, I was like, I know. And sure enough, it was. So really took a couple of days to sink in. It still doesn't feel real, seeing the lads go back to training now, and we obviously played the pre-season game the other day, and the way that they kind of remembered them there in that moment as well. It's going to be a very emotional season for Liverpool Football Club. So Liverpool fans, we can't expect other fan bases to give us grace for the whole season, and be supporters. I think once we go into football season, football mode goes on, and I understand that. But I think as Liverpool fans, we've just got to be patient with each other, We've got to be patient with the wider squad. The lads have gone through a lot. They're all human at the end of the day. They will make mistakes again, you know, and they will try and overcome those mistakes, and they will try and put the best performances in a Liverpool shirt, I'm sure of it. So, you know, a little bit of patience is probably the only thing that I'd ask for, and just the utmost support. And yeah, as I say, rest in peace, Diogo Jota, rest in peace, Andre Silva. And as far as we're concerned here in Liverpool, here at Redmen, he's a player that'll never be forgotten now for the rest of the time.
Facts, bro. Facts. And I've got to say, I think it will spur you on. And these things sometimes work in the way that everyone gets together and, you know, you get across the line in other ways. So I'm sure that will happen. Something that will definitely help you towards that is Alexander Isak, bro. Now, we're going to talk about this because it's a player that I've always wanted. It's a player I loved, and it's a player I wanted when he was at Sociedad. Went to Newcastle, got some injuries, but was also looked like he was going to be a fairly good signing, turned into an unbelievable signing. And to be fair, I think it's quite clear that he's the best striker in the Premier League, in my opinion. He might not be the best goal scorer because they've got Haaland, but for me as an all-round striker, I don't think there's anyone that comes close to Alexander Isak, if I'm honest. And I'll go as far to say that in Europe, in terms of players that we believe are available, he's clearly number one. And he's clearly the one that everybody has been talking about. Now, there was 4 for me, Errol, that I wanted. I didn't see Isak as obtainable, I've got to be honest, and we'll come on to that in a minute. Julian Alvarez, Osimhen, and Gyökeres are the only other 3 that I would have entertained. I'm not really buying the Sesko, Ekitike, Mateta, João Pedro vibe to go and win a title. I think they're all very good players.
See, I'll cut you in there. I would have said João Pedro. He's going to be my wild card for having an explosive season. I'll say that straight off the bat.
Yeah, I like him. But, I mean, scoring 10 goals for Brighton, he did really well. I thought he come in and did excellent. He was a real handful. But I don't know if that wins you a title. That's all I'll say. I'm happy to be proven wrong, and maybe Chelsea will go and win a title with him. But I don't know that he's the one that I'd go, yep, he's ready to go win a title. But I do like him a lot. I think he's an excellent player. So they were the ones. And I was with my dad yesterday and the news broke. And I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, I've got to be honest. I kind of feel like that could ruin the Premier League season because I think it's hotting up for an unbelievable season. Like you've got City, Arsenal, Liverpool, I feel like are going to be in a title race. Newcastle and Chelsea are probably 3 or 4 signings away from trying to get themselves involved as well. And I'm thinking this could be really close. And then I start to see the rumours of Isak. Now, I want to kind of bring in some of the chat comments here to get a feeling about what's happening before we do announce what's kind of the latest with it. Guna1970, big up to you, says, for the community, am I the only minority that I don't really care if Liverpool get Isak? As long as we get Gyökeres and Eze, I don't care. I want to be able to say that we beat the best if we win the league or the Champions League. We've also got Blackbeard here who says they doubt Newcastle will accept 120 and nothing less than 150. The likelihood is that 175 or 200 is what Newcastle will demand. They don't need to sell and they have ambition. Jay says that Gyökeres and Eze is 120 million. Would you rather that or Isak for 120 million? Which are you going for? I think Isak is absolutely guaranteed to take it to the next level. Eze might be a bit of a squaddy for Arsenal, and Gyökeres, as much as I want him and think he will bang, there's obviously that risk that he might not. So I think Isak is the one that people would say probably, but a lot of people would probably go the other way. Patrick says Isak's a huge risk. As a Swede, I followed him throughout his career. Lots and lots of injuries. Always had huge problems with his thighs and groin. And then we've got this says that Isak would not go to Liverpool. Newcastle would not allow it. Remember, they're building for the Champions League. And we've got a super chat saying big up Dan and big up Errol from Akcha. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that one. Look, I wanted to do that on purpose just to get a bit of a feel in the chat and whereabouts we are in the community about what the likelihood of this happening. And we know that there's been interest, and yesterday it was confirmed. The latest from a few hours ago was from Romano, who is suggesting that Liverpool have again confirmed to Newcastle their intention to present record bid for Isak, as revealed on Tuesday. The proposal is ready for a £120 million package, but will only be sent in if Newcastle change their stance. It has always been that he is not for sale. Now, Errol, let me tell you where I'm at with this one, right, bro? I've always believed he would stay. I always felt that he would stay at Newcastle. Money does talk. This is all now going to be on what Isak wants to do. If he's happy to stay and Newcastle said, look, we're not selling you. Are you happy here? Yeah. Next summer, let's talk. But for now, you're here. I genuinely do believe that is probably what's going to happen. However, I think what it looks like from Liverpool's point of view is not just unbelievable ambition. It's actually really clever, man. I think this is a serious chess move, bro, because they're like, right, we want your striker. You either give him to us for 120, which we think is fair, or we go and take the striker that you want in Hugo Ekitike. And I think that for me is a massive chess move now. And Newcastle are like, well, we've got to decide which one do we want. We obviously want to keep Isak and we want to add Ekitike. There is rumours that Liverpool are looking at other strikers as well. I heard Mateta and Watkins, and it's fair. You're not going to look just to one target. I get that. We did the same. Where are you at, bro? Talk to me about this. It must fill you with excitement, but is there also saying in the back of your mind, like, is this really going to happen?
Well, first and foremost, let me just start off by saying Newcastle being in the Champions League this season has made this particular deal a little bit more difficult to negotiate, because I think there might have been gentlemen agreements prior to obviously the season ending, where obviously Newcastle might have said to him, look, gentlemen's agreements, if you want to go and we don't get Champions League, then we get the right money, we can part ways amicably. Obviously the Champions League then does change that. Does he still want to go? Does he want to, move to a club that could potentially be looking to win things from next season onwards? And then further to that, I think from my perspective as a Liverpool fan, I am obviously want the player. I think the player is an immense talent. I think he would have been in my top three. I think the three, he would have probably sat second in that. I think Alvarez would have been my go-to. I'd have just went and picked up Julian Alvarez as the number one target. And to be honest with you, I think we'd have had a better bargaining chip in that deal if we would have used Darwin Núñez to go the other way. Potentially, it obviously depends if Diego Simeone would have wanted that profile of striker as well. And then when you look at the flip side of it, I would have probably had João Pedro. They would have been probably the three forwards that I'd have had. Obviously, all of this was pre the passing of Jota. So, it wasn't taken into consideration that Liverpool could potentially lose Diaz, Núñez, and obviously now the passing of Jota means that we don't have his ability to field him going forward. Where I stand with Isak is, though, I expected Newcastle to remain steadfast in the fact that they don't want to sell him. Why would you want to sell him? You've already rightly said, he's the best striker in the league, and he clearly is head and shoulders above many other strikers in his position. He's proven. Whether we buy him or we don't, he's got to play 2 games a season next year anyway. So Newcastle have got to try and keep him fit and able to compete on both fronts. Where does it? I think he's got a better chance of staying fit doing that. I think he's probably got a better chance of staying fit with us than with Newcastle, if I'm being completely honest with you. And then outside of that, I just wanted the ambition for us to go, do you know what? We've made a record signing already in Wirtz, Florian Wirtz, deal done. Boom, here we go, over the line, see him in training kits. What now? We know we need a target for a number 9. We know who that target is going to be. The only thing that we can do is put the money in front of Newcastle and see if Newcastle flinch, and just see. We're playing chicken with them, and we'll see which one moves first. And honestly, I think it's probably the boldest I've seen our board and our sporting directors in my lifetime. And on top of that, it all just increases the pressure that Newcastle then feel now, because Newcastle have worked themselves into this position and they want to build a project, but they're going to have to think, in 12 months' time, the strong likelihood is a Bayern Munich are going to let go of Kane. They might come in for an Isak. A PSG might decide to move Dembele out wide again, and they might want an Isak. There will be other big clubs in and around Europe in 12 months' time that will have the money that will say, we'll take Isak. If Isak's replacement has already been poached by Liverpool, that then leaves Newcastle with poor succession planning. They won't actually have the options that they probably wanted. And then they've just got 60 mil, 70 mil, but they won't have Liverpool's money. Liverpool will have a player and they'll have to go and spend it elsewhere. So from that perspective, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, yeah, that's a perfect move for DHS. Let's just see what they're going to do, because ultimately the ball's in their court, but the cards and the power play is with us, because we know he will come to us if we put the right money in front of you. And like I said, you'd have to table a bid of upwards of 115 mil before they'll entertain it and get you to the table. But if they're prepared to put a 120 mil package in, potentially with some add-ons, then there's a conversation to be had. And it then all comes down to, right, what is it going to take for us to take your best player away from you? Because if it helps you then get your next man in Ekitike, that might mean that you're more future-proofed and sustainable going forward, rather than risking falling off the edge of a cliff in 12 months' time. And you might not be guaranteed any Champions League football next year to be able to barter with. If you've got the Champions League football, you're in a much stronger position to negotiate getting another quality replacement. there's no guarantee that Newcastle are going to be there next season. And once the player's head's been turned, what type of player turns up week in, week out thereafter? We've seen it ourselves. Trent's head was massively turned last season. A lot of people were in denial of the fact, me probably being one of them as well, thinking he'll give us all and he'll remain professional. But if you look back now, knowing what we know, there's been plenty of games which you could probably pick up and highlight and say, yeah, Trent wasn't there on that day. He was there in body, but he wasn't there in heart, and he wasn't there in mind, and he wasn't there in heart. Do Newcastle really want to be in that position with their star striker when they're going to be desperate for goals, when they're going to need somebody? So it's not turned that ugly yet. It's still early days in this whole, transfer saga. But Liverpool's business to this point has been efficient. It's been good. And when you then consider what, Isak could be playing with, Florian Wirtz could be playing with next to Salah, that midfield with Maka, Gravenberch, you've got Van Dijk in defence, which has got a new keeper as well to add to the squad. The full backs that are brand new, like the opportunity to go and play with them could be too enticing. And then obviously you could throw in the winger that, we both need a left winger. And at the minute, we don't particularly, or Diaz doesn't particularly want to stay with us. If you throw Rodrigo into the mix, because that'll basically be a pound for pound signing, we're only then really going to break the bank for Isak. So that's one more player we've got to break the bank for. I'm just glad that we're being bold enough and we're basically putting our balls on the table to say, yeah, we're acting like a big fish and we want your player. What are you saying?
Serious club, man. Serious club. Moving like a serious club. I think Florian Wirtz is the best signing of the summer so far. I think he's outstanding. I think he's unbelievable in his position, and I think he will fit and suit what Liverpool do. I actually think Liverpool might use him as a little more versatile than he has been over in Germany, but I do think that he's an unbelievable player. I've got a lot of time for him. I personally, it's a very unpopular opinion, but I think he's better than Musiala. A lot of people disagree and think Musiala's better, but I don't. I've seen both of them, and
I think you're splitting here. And obviously now Musiala's got a big injury that's going to take
horrendous as well,
a while to recover from. So I think you're splitting hairs, but obviously now Wirtz is probably going to be the first choice when it comes to World Cup squads because, as I say, how long is it going to take for Musiala to get back to the level that he was playing at before his injury?
Yeah, facts. And that was horrific, by the way. Absolutely horrible injury. And look, Wirtz, I think, impressed me when I saw him under Xabi Alonso. I saw him the season before that, and he was tipped as like one of the wonder kids. And I thought, we always hear this, wonder kid. What's he actually like? I thought, he looks pretty good. And then I was like, whoa, no, he looks better than good. And yeah, I think he's a phenomenal signing. People are shocked by how much Liverpool are spending. I'll tell you why I'm not shocked. I'm surprised you've gone like this. I think a lot of people, I think some Liverpool fans are. However, when you look at the last two windows, you've done nothing, right? Well, you bought Chiesa for 10 million. The 2 seasons prior to that, you spent 150 on the Szoboszlais and Alexis McAllisters of this world. The previous signing, summer before that, you bought Darwin Núñez and co. And spent another 150 million, which adds up to 300 over 2 years. So basically, you've got 300 million, which is why I'm not shocked. Now, we knew you had money because you lumped it on Caicedo and then went for Endo. So we knew you had a hell of a chunk of money there, right? And we always thought, why did you not go and spend that then? That's bizarre. Well, now you have in Florian Wirtz. We believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you've got enough money to get Isak without selling. And then on top of selling potentially Núñez and Diaz, it wouldn't surprise me if you went all out and got one big one. And I think that one, we can discuss it later, but I think that one might be Rodrigo as well. Now, if you have a summer of Isak, Rodrigo and Wirtz, I think the whole of the Premier League will just give up, bro, if I'm honest with you.
That's what I want, though. I don't want people wanting to go to Anfield thinking they're going to get a result today. It's going to be long for anybody that rocks up at Anfield next season because the emotion, the motivation, the new players, the new fullbacks, the power that we're going to have, bro. We're going to be having too much. We're going to be able to cook too many teams next season for me. I'll be honest with you. But to the point of the way that where the money has become, Liverpool. Again, I said this, and I'm glad that I was one that kind of held my water. When you were crashing it on me in January, I was on the 12th man. Yeah, anyone in the chat might know it or might remember. I was on the 12th man. Everybody is crashing it on me. Your succession planning, bro. Your succession planning's going down the toilet. What do you do when you lose 2 out of the 3? Who's going to want to come to you then? And I said, just put the brakes on a minute and let's just think. If we are able to keep, and we have done now, we've kept 2 of the 3. What was we telling them in the boardroom when we're offering them new contracts? Because they've only got 2-year extensions, the pair of them. That means that they are gearing up to win now. It's not we're going to go and wait 12 months and then we're going to go big. This is the summer that we go big. So if you stay with us, you're going to have some world-class reinforcements that go straight into this 11 one way or another. And they've signed. So as soon as they signed, I had the confidence that this was going to be a massive summer for us anyway. I didn't see the Vert one coming. I'll be completely honest with you. I thought to pit buy into the post with a player who does that, in today's market, they pretty much cherry pick the German player of the season whenever they want them year in, year out. He's been the German player of the season 2 seasons on the bounce, comes to Liverpool. Isak's always been the target. He's been the one that they've identified.
Yeah.
Liverpool have just been basically waiting to see how it all began to unfold. Champions League being part of it makes it a little bit more difficult. What movements do Newcastle do for their reinforcements? How did they react? I believe the bid from Newcastle will make them seriously consider it. But Liverpool, it's not to say we have to get it done, but Liverpool will go big on a forward. And I just think the last time we went big on a forward, you can say, yeah, all right, we got Darwin Núñez. For a lot of people, it hasn't necessarily worked out to the levels we would have hoped it would for the money you pay. But I think Liverpool won't make the same mistake twice. Liverpool will go out and get somebody that is a bona fide goal scorer and will be able to provide the goals. Because don't forget, AFCON's coming this season for us. Salah's going to be gone for upwards of 5 to 6 weeks potentially. That then means we're going to need somebody that we can rely on game in, game out. And I was sitting there deep in it last night and I said, you know what? If we get Isak, we become a team that can score at any given moment in a match, because he's the type of person, you could have a Carabao Cup game, for example, and depends how seriously you want to take it, but you could be in a cup game, 70 minutes gone, you're 1-0 down and you're needing a goal, and you think, oh, I was going to rest him and I was hoping we'd have this game wrapped up, kind of like how we played Plymouth in the FA Cup. You think, oh, they got a goal before half time, and you're expecting, at some point it'll happen. You throw on a Alexander Isak just as a break glass solution, just go and get us a goal. We can create chances at will. You create one chance for him, it's one chance, one goal, and all of a sudden the momentum and the look of that tie is completely flipped on its head. And that's the power that he gives to this squad if he comes in. It would mean, for me, we create so many chances in a game, but we could score at any given moment, and I'd have the confidence that I'd back our guy to do it 9 times out of 10.
Look, if you get Isak, it'll be scary. I can't lie. If you got Isak and Rodrigo, it'd be like, wow, everyone just lock off, it's done. Because that is a ridiculous front four of Salah, Wirtz, Rodrigo and Isak, right? I don't know that that's going to be the case. I think we have to be realistic as well, and say that your front four could quite easily be Salah, Wirtz, Gakpo and Ekitike, right? It could quite, it could be like, wow, Rodrigo and Isak, or it could be, oh, Gakpo and Ekitike, respectable, probably could still go and win the league, but let's be real, it's not what you're dreaming of, right? And I want Arsenal to be doing what you're doing. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy with Zubimendi, I'm happy with Gyökeres if it happens. I think Arsenal have got a chance of winning the title with that. I really do. But I really don't think Arsenal have a chance if Liverpool get Isak. Because I also think, you've got Salah, who I don't think is going to drop off, by the way, and I do think he'll score goals. And Wirtz, I think, will add more goals to that for you individually, but also through his creativity and creating chances for those players, right? You add Isak to the mix. I would be shocked if you bought Isak and didn't win more than 2 trophies.
Yeah, massively.
I really would. If you just won one again, I'd be like, oh, well, they did what they did last season. They bought Wirtz and Isak. Wow.
Exactly.
Not really. Like, you're buying them to dominate. You're not buying them to just make sure you get over the line again. Do you know what I mean?
Well, what did Vert do the season before? Nearly went like invincible, nearly done an invincible treble or some shit. Do you know what I mean? Like one game away from. So he, and obviously the same for Frimpong. So they're coming with the mentality that, we can win multiple trophies here. And I think that's why I meant.
Yeah, and I think Frimpong and Kirkes have been overlooked, by the way. I think they're unbelievable signings. I think but I know he's not Trent, and I get it. Liverpool fans, all right, calm down. He's gone, I get it. Frimpong's a good player though, and Kirkes is an exceptional left back, mate. Like, for me, he was the best left back in the league last year.
He was, and this is what I'm saying. So I think that's what I meant when it comes back to the negotiations and the conversations that were had with Salah and Van Dijk. It was, we want to win now, and they want to do what a City have done, where they've won multiple trophies and they can stand there with, you know, a Champions League, a Premier League, an FA. They want to be able to be in that position, and it's very, very difficult. But the only way to do it is by building a squad full of world beaters. And I, you know, last season my line to go to was, you know, look what we've done in the window. We haven't signed anybody. We've not signed anybody, and look where we are. So there's an element of, I want your manager, or I want our manager, to be able to get the best out of the players that he's got. But he's earned his stripes in one season. He's earned enough credit in the bank to say, right, this is what I could do with what he's given me. Let me use my talent ID now to go and tell you players that I want to work with to add to this. And then we go up another level. And if we go up another level, you know, retaining the Prem, that should be light work. With the likes of Isak in there that can just gobble up goals for fun. Salah will gobble up goals for fun in the Premier League. And then when you're looking on the continent and you want to play the European game and you want to play the champs, we can already, you know, we can dog walk that table. And now we know the table's a little bit of a farce, if I'm being completely honest with you. Finishing the top 8, I'm not asked if I finish first or second anymore. Just finishing that top 8. And when it comes to those knockouts, we can ball out. And we should hopefully have enough depth that when we get to that tricky point in the season between January and March, we can still be fresh enough to be able to take on the big European giants, the PSGs, the Real Madrid, the Barcelonas, the Bayerns, you know, the Arsenals, you know, whoever else is going to be a City, whoever else is going to be in the competition, they won't want to draw Liverpool. And that's the position that we need to be in ourselves. Right. I think, you know, we not like we would have made excuses, because look, we did it on a shoestring budget last year with Chiesa, but there is no excuse for Liverpool to not want to dominate next season and look to try and achieve the unthinkable. And you know, I don't want to.
The thing is, they're moving mad. They've got the money clearly. I think they're going to spend it, and if they don't spend it all on Isak, Rodrigo's, Virtus, they're going to spend it. I mean, they're going to look to dominate, and I understand why. They've got to strike while the iron's hot. They know they've not got Salah and Van Dijk for a long period of time, and they're their two superstars. And I think Jamie said it in the chat. They're looking at their two new superstars, and it's clearly going to be, in their eyes, Virtus and Isak. So I understand why they're doing it. I wanted to touch on Newcastle really quickly, bro, because you know me well and you've collabed with me for a while. You know I've got a bit of a soft spot for Newcastle. I like them. I like the city. I like the club. I like the fan base. I think they're passionate. I like the stadium. It's a great place to go. Great city to have a night out in. I like a lot about Newcastle, if I'm honest. And, you know, I felt like their fans deserved success over all the crap with Mike Ashley, etc. And we were linked with Isak very loosely last season. I didn't believe we were ever going to get him. And the hate I got from their fan base just for mentioning that he's a good player was unbelievable. And you can tell, like, Newcastle aren't used to being up there. They're not used to being the guys that are like, we've got the players everyone wants. And I'm like, crikey, I had to go through every season potentially losing Van Persie, potentially losing Fabregas, ended up losing them both, ended up losing Sanchez. This is what happens when you're up there and you're not winning titles, but you're picking up some cups. People go and say, well, you're the good player, I'll take you. And I'm stunned by the response. It's like they're and I'm not taking a mick out of everyone in the chat, because I know we've got Newcastle fans in the chat, and I've got nothing but respect for you, the support you do on the channel. I'm like, why are we crying about this? Like, this should be a massive compliment. Like, yeah, I'm worried because I don't want him to go, but look at the players we got. People want Tonali. People want Anthony Gordon. People want Bruno Guimaraes. People want Isak. They don't particularly want Kieran Trippier and Jacob Murphy, do they? They don't particularly want Dan Burn and Fabian Schär. Good players, but they're not going to take them to the next level. So, like, as in a Liverpool or an Arsenal. I do not understand why Newcastle fans are crying and going mad about this. And I'm like, look, they obviously don't want to lose their guy. I get it. But they got to understand that that is an attractive move. Like, from a team who are trying to be Liverpool, why would a player not want to go and just be with Liverpool?
Yeah, no, I get that. I think again, correct me if I'm wrong, and obviously the Newcastle fans will, but
I mean, Craig, and big up to Craig. Sorry, Errol. Big up to Craig, because Craig's not, you know, Craig, I love Craig, and he's one of my mods, and he's a good lad, and he's always in here. But, you know, Craig is one here. Look, you know, you're all nuts. You know, it gets on our nerves. We're angry, you know, or we're not. Sorry, you tell us we're angry. You make out we're angry. You say he's an Arsenal fan. He's a Liverpool fan. Look, some of the fans do that, but they do that, Craig, because they wind you up. So don't let them wind you up. Just
don't take the bait.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Yeah. Liverpool, obviously, Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans online, we're just going to bait you out, and we're going to, again, this is what the big clubs do. You know, you drop a hand grenade in a pub and you just walk straight back out the front door and just wait for it to go off. And it is literally those type of settings. You know, Real Madrid have done it to us. You know, Barcelona have done it to us down the years, you know, with the likes of Suarez and Coutinho. And again, it just basically, it's there to test your nerve. And I don't think Liverpool have done anything wrong. I think it would have been negligent if Liverpool didn't try and attempt to get Newcastle. And Newcastle have got to respond in an appropriate way. I think the fans have got to understand that if Newcastle's response or genuine stance is to not sell, then they need to back their club and believe that till improved otherwise. And I don't blame them if they do. Don't get wound up by Liverpool fans online. You know, the reality is,
or Arsenal fans, by the way.
all Liverpool, yeah. You know, we're just huge admirers. And if there's a deal there to be made, then we'd be stupid not to try and make it happen to better our club, because he is a player that would better our club. So absolutely, you've got to give credit to Newcastle for looking after him for as long as they have. But at some point, and this is the point that I was making earlier, Newcastle fans, whether they like it or not, you're on notice. You are genuinely on notice. If he doesn't go this window, he goes next summer. So which way round is it? And I can understand there's an argument to say, well, if he goes next summer and they're in the World Cup, then that 150 mil is bottom end of what we was ever going to accept. And you're probably looking closer to 200 mil for a player of that talent that goes to the World Cup.
I spoke to Steve yesterday. Big Steve was on the channel. Big up to Steve every time. And he said, he made a good point. And look, he's got no allegiance to Newcastle whatsoever. He said he spoke to someone who's good with the old finances, PSR. Now, I am useless at that. I'm crap in numbers. I'm dyslexic with it. I've got no interest in finances whatsoever personally. However, he said that if Newcastle were to accept 150 million for Isak, they would be able to, PSR-wise, spend near to 500 million PSR-wise. Now, what do they want, Newcastle fans? Do they want 500 mil to spend or keep Isak? It's a really good question. Like, they might say keep Isak because they're emotional, they don't want to lose him. But imagine having 500 million to spend on your squad. It's crazy, bro. Even if you just bought 500 million.
I was going to say literally that 500 million pound players in this market. Game changers, absolute game changers. So
you can buy a whole spine and you're done. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's only a matter of time. Till Newcastle have to eventually sell Alexander Isak. And it's basically, that's where the pressures come from Liverpool. It's, well, what do you want? Do you want to be able to replace him this summer with your ideal number one target? Or do you want to be going into the unknown, losing your man, not being able to get your second target, and not knowing what the strikers market's going to look like in 12 months' time? Imagine having to shop for a striker desperately because you lose your best one in a World Cup season, when everybody's stock goes through the roof off the back of a good World Cup. Like,
mate, it's mad. It's a great point.
All of a sudden, in terms of value for money, is it still going to be in the market in 12 months' time? Whereas right now there is value in the market. £70 million or £80 million for Ekitike would be deemed to be good business, considering how sought after he's been by a number of clubs so far this summer. They won't get the same price. Tomorrow's price is not going to be today's price in 12 months' time for Newcastle. So obviously, I'm going to get out here and be on the PR wagon to say, yo, I'd urge just, if I was your financial advisor, if I was advising the board, that's some good money. Sleep on it, take it. But at the same time, I do get the frustration from the fan base because, you just want to be able to say hands off. I don't think they've had the best window so far. And I think that would definitely
100%.
Definitely, sour their summer if they was to lose their number one guy. But
imagine
it's very rare. It's even rare that like you lose your guy and you've got an adequate replacement to go in and get them for at the same time. So they're not getting left in an awful position. They've got to be strong-willed in what they want. And if they want to make sure that they're going to not sell him, don't sell him. But if they think that there's a price, they need to set out what that price is, what that package looks like, and just table it to Liverpool and then see if Liverpool want to come back and accept it.
Look, a couple of comments. I think this one's very interesting. A lot of Arsenal fans in group chats of mine have been talking about this, saying that you think that Liverpool waited for Arsenal to make their move for a free run at Isak. What they obviously mean by that is that we were trying to sort out Sesko and Gyökeres. We were waiting. I've been told as well through people that I find fairly reliable and fairly more reliable than some of the people on the internet, that we are also now looking at going in for him as well and saying, should we then go in for him as well as Gyökeres, or should we then wait on the Gyökeres? It's why Gyökeres is now being delayed. There is a kind of update, however, that Gyökeres is due for a medical on Friday. So it looks like we're going ahead with Gyökeres. And then our next move, from what we understand, is Eze. So before I come on to Arsenal, there's a brilliant super chat here who's getting very excited. It's amazing how many bits of nice, exciting news can get people buzzing. But apparently,
I'm not doing this one. I'm not doing this one. Yeah, I'm not doing it, man.
According to Ola, if you bring in Isak, Rodrigo, and Guehi, and you keep Kouyate, Liverpool are going to do the complete, or are going to complete even, I can't talk, complete English football and do an invincible quadruple. Hashtag slot ball, Liverpool, and you'll never walk alone. Look, I've got to be honest, that might be a little bit over the top. However, I do think, and I get the excitement, because if you brought in Isak, Rodrigo on top of Wirtz, kept Kouyate, brought in Guehi, you're looking at, Kirkez and Mamadashvili, who I think is very good signing, by the way.
That's a monster squad. That
I don't know how anyone beats you, if I'm honest with that. I really don't. I mean, if he doesn't win the league, he should be sacked. Let's just be real. It's like obviously going to be your year. Before I move to Arsenal, let me ask about your year, because a lot of people are saying that Liverpool are favourites. I mean, they are, to be fair. They're the champions. What would change that for you, Errol? What would make you think, oh, I don't think we're no longer favourites? Or is there anything that can?
It's hard to say before a ball's been kicked, really. Obviously, the injuries, depending on who picks up injuries. I think Liverpool's, I always say this, well, Liverpool's only competition is Liverpool, in the sense that I want Liverpool to rack up plus 90 points in the Premier League, and then you're in the conversations for a title race. If there's another team in the mix and around 90 points as well, that means it's going to be very close, and it's probably only going to be a couple of points in it. But if that should be the level that this Liverpool squad look to be able to achieve next season, and then good luck to anybody that keeps up with them. I think I'm not convinced that City are going to rebuild as strong as they have in previous years in terms of going back to their previous best. I think Chelsea are going to be dark horses. Definitely. I'm putting pressure. They're the team that I'm putting the most pressure on. Obviously, you could say we're putting pressure on Arsenal, but I'm bored of putting pressure on Arsenal, because Arsenal just are never going to, step up to the plate, if as far as I'm concerned, until you prove me otherwise, and you might do that in the transfer market this season, or admittedly, or by doing it on the pitch consistently and looking dangerous week in, week out. I want to put that pressure on Chelsea, because Chelsea have spent enough money. They fixed the forward line. Yeah, they're probably a few defenders and a goalkeeper away potentially, but Chelsea can't go a decade of being mediocre. It would be nearly 9 years, probably nearly
not
9
after £1 billion spent.
Exactly, we're going on to nearly 9.
To be fair, we've spent that as well now, by the way.
Yeah, you will have, but Chelsea, since from the Roman era, I think that the longest that they ever went without a league was 5 years. They've gone over that now, and they're closer to 10 years without a league title. I can't say that this Chelsea team should be in a mediocre bracket. They should be back fighting for league titles, for Champions Leagues. Obviously, they are now the Club World Cup holders of that competition as well. Big up man like Don. And then further to that, as I say, I don't care what anybody else does, because it's only Liverpool versus Liverpool for me this season, if I'm being completely honest with you. If I look and segue to Arsenal, what I will say is, though, you must, I don't care what it is, but you must have silverware in your hand come the 1st of June next year. It's an absolute necessity. And I hope to God, and I've said it to you in the chat, I probably said it to you when we linked up last month, I want to see you get all of your number one targets. Get them all. Because once Arsenal have got all of their targets that all the fans have been twerking for, whether it's the Gyökereses, whether it's the Ezes, whether it's, Rodrigo, I don't really care who it is. If you identified them as a target, and that's who Arteta wants, that's who, Berta wants, what excuses have you got left? There can't be any excuses, because you've got the striker now, you've got the goalkeeper, you've got the centre-back pairing, you've got full-backs that you're happy with, you've got young, tight and exciting players that have come through the academy, you've still got your star boy, there can't be excuses for Arsenal no more. So I'm sorry, whether it's the league, And I think the thing that helps Arsenal the most next season is being clear with what you want. Because you're very indifferent of, we're going to see how the league pans out, and then we might put our eggs into the Champions League basket if we're not close enough, and we're not really going to take the cup seriously. So, we'll just play weekend squads, and then if we go through, we go through, and if we get knocked out, it's not the end of the world. Like, no, Arsenal should be going, we are going to be good enough, build a squad that is good enough to compete on all four fronts, and we are going to push every single game right up until the final whistle to win as many competitions as possible next season. Now, we know we're going to come up against some other really good teams, but in doing that, it means that there is a clear objective from Arsenal to be winners come the end of the season. And that's all I'm asked about. I don't want to be here in the Christmas show. I don't want to be there in January window and you're talking about, oh, well, we're waiting for this signing and we're just waiting for this and we've had this person injured and he's not played and this guy's taking so long to bed in. I don't care. I'm done with the excuses. And this is me as a Liverpool fan. I am done with the excuses from Arsenal fans. This season, it's time to get with the times. Spurs are winning trophies. Newcastle are winning trophies. Crystal Palace are winning trophies. City will go back to winning trophies. Liverpool are winning. Get with the times.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it is about right now, winning trophies. That is what people want to see come the end of the season. That's what the memories are about. That's when you retire, you hang up your boots and you look there and you sit down with your family, your kids. You say, that's what I did with my career and that's the team that I played for. And at this moment in time, Arsenal have had a good run of excuses, but your excuses have run dry.
Facts. Look, I'm with Jay. Jay's one of my guys, man. And if you're done, Errol, how you think we feel? It's true, man. It's true. We hear excuses every year, and if I'm honest with you, bro, this window has to be perfect for Arsenal. We're playing catch up at the moment.
How close is it? How close is it to perfect for you?
Not very at the moment.
Really?
Well, we've only bought 3 players in: Kepa, Norgard, and Zubimendi. Madueke looks
like you're due to get the Madueke and that right back though, innit? Or the centre back.
We're going to get Mosquera and Madueke. Okay, I'll tell you how we make this perfect, right? Because Mosquera and Madueke are coming in. Yeah. To make this perfect, we're not going to get Isak. To make this perfect, we need to get Gyökeres, Eze, and Rodrigo. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. And people will say, oh, we don't need that many attackers. We do. Because, let's be real. Our attack is what's let us down. We've got 2 goalkeepers now in Raya and Kepa. I know people laugh at the Kepa one, and I'm not really too excited about it, but he's a backup goalkeeper. Whatever. He's hardly going to play. You got Timber and White at right back. You got Calafiori and Lewis-Skelly at left back. At the moment, it's Gabriel and Kivior, but there's rumours that if Kivior goes, we'll bring in a defender. But Mosquera can play there alongside Saliba as well. So our defence is stacked. In midfield, we've got Zubimendi and Norgard that's replaced Jorginho and Partey. Ødegaard and Ethan are in our attacking numbers, but if Eze comes in, he can play there as well. Obviously, Eze can play and Ethan can play in the left attacking 8, should they need to. But we do have Rice and Marino there also. At the moment, it looks like it's going to be Madueke and Saka on the right. Martinelli and Trossard are currently there on the left, but there's rumours we're going to bring in a Rodrigo-type winger and Trossard will be let go. And then up top, it looks like it's going to be Gyökeres, Havertz and Jesus. Don't tell me that's not a squad good enough to at least compete with the Premier League and win a trophy, because it is. Like, if Ten Hag can win a trophy and Glasner can win a trophy and Ange, Maresca and Eddie Howe can all win a trophy, so can Arteta with this team, or should be able to. And if he can't, he has to go, in my opinion, right? So I think the way to make this a perfect window is you add Rodrigo to that left wing. And I'll ask you, if I said to you now, Errol, just to let you know, Arsenal's front line is going to be Saka, Gyökeres and Rodrigo, you're not going to go, wow, fuck, brilliant. They're not going to score goals. You're going to go, oh, okay, that's a problem. With Ødegaard behind,
I'm expecting big things. Like, I genuinely am, because, you can't have that amount of talent and not expect to blitz teams and blow teams away. I just sit there and think to myself, like, this is the other thing. What would the excuses even be? You get that. You pattern all of that. What kind? You've only got to look at your manager and just say, you know what, you're not up to the job, lad. If you can't get the best out of this talent that's in front of you, you're not clearly up for it. And I think, look, he was getting nearly 10 goals out of Moreno coming into play striker when he's had nobody. Like, you've got to certify a goal scorer there that's got mad amount of goals in the last 2 years in Europe. Like, the capabilities there are just ridiculous. I would expect, that's why I said I don't care which trophy it is, I would just expect that you are prepared to push especially Liverpool for the league. He's prepared to push us the entire way for the league, and you'll be in there, and you've got to hold your nerve and hold your bottle. And from an Arsenal perspective now, in terms of kicking on, that could be the start. That could genuinely be the catalyst for you to go on and have a good run for a couple of years. But before you get to that point, you've got to get the right business through the door. And I think that's where Arsenal, as fans, his frustration is. You've always let yourselves down. You've just pissed up the wall 50 mil. I don't know why you are just paying off Chelsea's debts left, right, and centre year in, year out, because bloody hell, look at that. Like, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, you just go bargain basement shopping for Chelsea scrubs. I don't get it. Like, I seen someone linking us to Jackson the other day. Don even put it in the chat yesterday. I had to tell Don, no, stop it. Like, you waste money in ways that you don't need to. And I think the business has been good because you needed volume. You knew that there was going to be a drop off or players that you didn't want in the squad no more. So you had to replenish the squad. I think, have you made enough signings that are going to break into your first team? In terms of this moment in time, I think there's only really one. And I think that's Gyökeres. He gets in over Kai Havertz, but obviously Kai Havertz is on big dose, so you're going to have to factor where you play him as well. So yeah, I think from an Arsenal perspective this season, the goal, and as it should have been and always should be, to win some trophy. But I think it's going to be an interesting season because.
Do you think though, Errol, the win? I'm big up to FamZone TV, by the way, for D and D and all the guys over there that have raided. Absolutely legends. Really appreciate that. There's 1.3K in here, people. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe and make sure that you're following Errol and Redmen TV as well. What do you think of Arsenal's window then? Because I know you've just said there's only Gyökeres that really upgrades so far. Zubimendi, we're not sure about because obviously I'm a big fan of what Thomas Partey brought to Arsenal, and I'm not going to mention any of the off the field stuff there. But I think when you look at what Zubimendi's brought to Arsenal, that's going to be a big, massive question mark of maybe an intriguing, excitement / interesting signing. Obviously, Norgaard's replaced backup. Madueke's a replaced for backup. And obviously, Kepa is a replaced for backup. Mosquera is going to be a backup. So we've only really improved our first team by one player, or maybe /2 if you include Zubimendi alongside Gyökeres if he comes in. Eze, we don't know if he will be a starter because obviously
I think he will. I think his quality will, and I think his confidence. I don't think he goes to Arsenal thinking I'm just going to hold bench. I think he's going to go and think I can compete to be in that team week in, week out. I genuinely.
Where do you think though? Where do you think he'll start? Left wing?
No, I don't want him on the left wing. Why would you waste him on the left wing? He's got to be the 10. He's got to be the 10. If that means that Odegaard has to drop in to be a little bit more of an 8 and just go up and down a little bit more to just provide him with the space to do what he does, it's a worthwhile sacrifice if you try and squeeze them both into the team.
Well, with Odegaard's form, I think Eze gets ahead of him in a moment, if I'm honest.
Exactly. What I will also say is that team, to me, the way that he's building, or better, and Arteta are padding out this team now, it suggests to me that he doesn't want extra lifelines in the cup competitions. He wants to be able to still field a team that can handle the cup competitions. If you are unlucky and you get drawn a Premier League team, say you get drawn Brighton in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup, and you've got, PSG, or you've got Inter Milan in the Champions League the week later. Yo, Don, they're all looking to quit. I had Troop saying on Twitter yesterday that he's looking to hang up his mic. But Dan will. Don Robbie will check out. It'll be over for the lot of them if we sign Isak. Just watch. But to the point I'm making, I told
Sam, Errol, I told Sam, if you sign Isak, I'm going to support Leyton Orient this year. The white flag's going to come out. Nah, it's mad. I'm of course tongue in cheek. I think it'll be an unbelievable signing, man. I really do.
But to the point that I'm making is, if you've got a big game and you want to rest big players for the Champions League, you need the points. It was FIFA after all, yeah. Lad, it must have been, bro. It genuinely must have been. I think having a team that is an understudy side, Madueke can come in for the Saka, Kepa can come in, you can use a Norgaard in there, and you can mix it up a little bit. You can then maybe put Eze as a 10, rest Odegaard if you want to do it that way. I think he wants to be able to take all of those cup competitions more seriously because he knows what you're going up against in Liverpool and what happens in the Champions League is uncertain. But if you can get over the line in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, it might just save him his job. And I think that's probably one of the cleverest things he might be able to do at this position, because he's got no other chances. But to put all your eggs in the Premier League when you know what you come up against in City and Liverpool is crazy. So for me, having a squad that now is a lot more complete, that can actually be more competition ready, and you can drop players in for the cups, I think that might be where Arsenal go. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't end up with the likes of a Rodrigo, and he's had a decent league campaign and he's had a decent Champions League campaign, but he's picked up a couple of the cups along the way.
Look, obviously, I don't want that, but I would take that.
You wouldn't. That's the point. It's about winning again, isn't it? Like I said, get with the times, Arteta. Get with the times. And if that's because look, that's how we've had to do it. You know, when we wanted to push for the league, but we've not been good enough. We've looked at him. Klopp went from not taking the cup seriously to taking the cup seriously. And there was a couple of occasions where you'd look and you think, oh my God, Liverpool are only a couple away or a couple of results away of winning it all. That doesn't happen by accident. That was very much by design. That was basically saying we want a Kelleher in the mix to be able to come in and be an adequate understudy. We want somebody like a Canate, you know, when we've had the Joel Matip in the past, and we've had other players or a Joe Gomez to be able to come in and do a job. We want a Conor Bradley. We want somebody like a Simicast in the mix there. You know, we had extra midfielders in there when we needed to obviously rotate the team. And then you had the likes of a Minamino. Minamino was top goal scorer in like 2 of the cup competitions when we went on to win them. You know what I mean? But he couldn't get a sniff in the league. But that was because we knew he was the type of player. You want the same from your Madueke. You don't want Madueke to get a sniff in the league, but you know you're just going to tear it up in the Carabao Cup. You're going to tear it up in the FA Cup for us. And that's where Arsenal needs to get their squad. Their squad needs to be complete enough to be able to deal with the demands of 4 competitions.
Look, we've got to go into all 4 competitions, and we've got to go into the deep stages of them as well, man. Big up to my guy Jay. He's saying we've got to stop the show until we hit the likes. There's nowhere near enough likes, people. We've got 1.3k in here, and we haven't even hit 300 likes. That means there's 1,000 of you that haven't hit the like button. That's mad. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, people. Make sure you're following Errol as well. Make sure you hit the like button now. It's free. Takes 2 seconds, and it really does help the show. So big up to everyone that's here. Look, I've got to be honest with you with Arsenal. Arteta, we all know, has to win or he's got to go. I don't think there's any excuses with those signings, Errol, because as much as I'm not massively keen so far on what Arsenal have done, in terms of I still think there's more that we need to do. I don't think he can say he hasn't got a striker if we get Gyökeres. He can't say that this isn't his team. He can't say that he hasn't been backed. These are his players. These will be close to 40 players that he would have bought in the time that he's been there. £1 billion spent, 6 years in the job. I don't know how anyone can want to keep Arteta if he doesn't deliver this season. Like, what are we doing? Like, I can appreciate, that you might not want to sack Arteta and go and get a Graham Potter or a De Zerbi or even a Thomas Frank or a Iriola, because they also haven't won anything either, right? But when you look at the scenario of, I'll tell you what we need to go and do is go and see if Enrique fancies coming to Arsenal after PSG and having a new challenge. Or maybe we can go and get a winning CV or a CV that says I win things and I'm ready to take this team. Because you can't tell me that this is not an attractive role for a manager. So coming to Arsenal, being told that, well, this manager got 6 years, didn't win anything and got given $1 billion. What am I going to get? And I win stuff. So I just don't know how anyone can believe that we're actually in the scenario of keeping this guy if he doesn't win, bro.
No, he's got to. That's the remit this season. And that's why I said it doesn't matter what he wins. He's just got to go out there and win trophies this season, because 6 years, £1 billion spent, the attacking riches that you've got in Gyökeres, Havertz, Saka, Martinelli, the firepower that you've got there, that will propel you to win games. For me, it's about how you hold your nerve in the biggest games, in the biggest moments of the season going forward, and getting off to a good start. Because if you got off to a shaky start, you could very quickly find yourselves out of a title race before October. And which might, again, I remember saying to you, I don't know which is going to be worse. Get death by 1,000 cuts last season, which is what it ended up being, or you just go out the title race in October and you know, all right, we may as well put all our eggs in the Champions League basket. I genuinely think this season Arsenal can't afford to lose their nerve in the big moments. They have to rise in all of those moments to get that credibility and to get that respect again. Because you was joking and you laughed about, okay, there'll be one player, if Isak joins, nobody will want to go to Anfield, nobody will want to play Liverpool next season. There's only ever one team each season where there are other 19 teams look at and go, we don't fancy it against them. Now, I want that to be us. I genuinely do. But Man United, every team wants to take a stripe off Man United because they're a fallen giant. City, because they looked weaker than they usually were, everybody seemed to get up for the City game. But seasons previous, City and yourselves had become those type of teams where teams are like, we're not going to get on today. So as long as it's respectable and we don't get our pants pulled down, we move on to the next. The reality is now, Liverpool, for me, are going to have to be that team. There's only one of them in my eyes. Liverpool have to be that team. But Arsenal need to do their damn best to try and be as close to Liverpool's coattails for as long as possible, because that's when Liverpool will start to sweat. Because we've said it, we wanted a title race with Arsenal last year, because when push comes to shove, when the pressure's on, if it's City turn up. If it's Arsenal will fold. And you have got to be able to break that cycle. And until you prove you can break that cycle, until Arteta can prove he breaks that cycle, he will not have the whole backing of that Arsenal fan base. And he will not have the backing of that team. That team, the last thing you want is to get to February, March and April, and the team are doubting, are we going to do it? You want to go out of that January window, maybe needing 1 or 2 or not needing anything, but in a strong position where you're 4 or 5 points clear and going, yeah, this is ours this year. This is ours. The Saka's looking at Odegaard's looking at Zubimendi's looking at Gokara. These are all in that dressing room being like, yeah, we can do this. As soon as there's that 1 ounce of doubt, it's done for you, because you've done it year in, year out. I used to sit as a Liverpool fan, and when we were in the Champions League and you were for years, I used to be able to predict Arsenal's season pretty much to the day, year in, year out. You should get out of the group stages. You should do well. You should almost look like he's already pushed for a challenge, a title race challenge. You get to January, you wouldn't sign nobody. You get dumped out of the Carabao Cup. You'd go on a little bit of a run in the FA Cup. That would then become your priority. You'd fall off in the league, and by the end of March, you should be out of the Champions League, and you'd only have the FA Cup to play for. That was Arsenal's season for about 6 seasons on the spin, and you could almost calculate it to the day, because that's what they were made of. And I know that is pre-Arteta, but Arteta in the last 6 years has created something very similar, where you can almost predict where Arsenal seasons will go up and then they will drop off. They will go up and they will drop off. And he just hasn't been able to develop the formula to get you over the line. I genuinely reckon if it's not this season, it's going to be never.
Look, brother, I'd love to be able to say you're talking rubbish.
You're waffling, bro. You're just waffling, bro.
It's facts, bro. There's nothing you've said that I disagree with. You can't argue with facts, right? Because that is exactly what happened. And don't get me wrong, we picked up FA Cups along the way with Arsene Wenger. Now we don't even do that with Arteta. He seems to have put all of his eggs into the league and the Champions League, which is fine if you go and win them. But if you dump yourself out of those trophies in the domestic cups and you don't win the majors, you're going to end up with nothing every season. And this is why he needs to respect the domestic cups this season more. Because I'm fine with picking up an FA Cup and going for a title race and losing it on the last day of the season if it means we're lifting something in May. If it means we're not lifting anything again, I don't really know what we're doing here. Because when you win something in March, Carabao Cup, or you win something in May, what it does is it gives you winning mentality. But if you do it in March, it gives you the winning mentality to then go and do it again in a couple of months, which is why Pep and Jose used to do it. And then you've got the scenario of Chelsea. And I know that the Club World Cup and the Conference Cup aren't always respected in the same manner. But the Conference Cup was won in May by Chelsea, and by July they had a Club World Cup as well. So that means now that team can win something. Arsenal's team at the moment is probably better. Well, it's definitely better than Chelsea's on paper.
But
it hasn't won anything.
They've got no muscle memory. They've got no winning muscle memory. Which one out as a team anyway? They might have individuals. Gokares has just obviously won Portugal. Zinchenko, Jesus. But it's been a minute. They've slept since their last wins. Like, as a team, they haven't necessarily got that winning mentality together as a unit to understand in the trials and tribulations, when you're in the trenches, when the going gets tough, how do we get through those difficult periods and come out on top as a winning side? And that does start. And again, look, I was blessed last season because our team had that. Slot just come with a refreshed energy and said he was already working with a group of winners, and the goal was to continue to go and win. And I think what he said in one of his very first interviews as the Liverpool manager was, "I'm not here for bear in mind, this is a point where most Liverpool fans, if you'd have asked them honestly last season, what would a successful season look like? Top 4 finish, and we go on a cup run, or a European Cup run, and we pick up an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup. We'll take it." And we would have probably took that as a year of adjustment, transition. But Slot set a stall out from early and said, "I am not here to just finish 3rd or 4th. I am here to win the biggest trophies in England." From once, that's the message from the top down. How can your players turn up in training and only give 60 and 70%? When he knows previously they've been winners, and to be winners, you have to give 110%. It's not acceptable. That's why players like Nunes struggled for us last year. That's why players like Diaz had purple patches but couldn't remain consistent the whole way through. That's why players like Harvey Elliott couldn't get a sniff. Because even when you're giving 110%, lad, you're still not as good as Salah. You're still not as good as Szoboszlai. So I can't consistently rely on you. Chiesa couldn't get himself fit for the season. So you're just not going to be involved enough. I'm frustrated. I'm calling them out. I'm cussing them. I'm holding smoke from Liverpool fans saying, "Lad, what am I on about? I don't know what I'm talking about." But clearly, the managers just said, "You're not at the level, so I'm not prepared. I'm not out here doing this for sentiment. I'm out here to win." And I do believe that Arteta now has got to be feeling that internal desire. He's got to be happy with what he's built. He's got to be happy that the club is in a much more stable position. He's got to be happy that his job is secure for another season. But that internal desire to go and prove everybody wrong now has got to be the same way Liverpool are internalising and channeling the pain of losing Diogo Jota. And I've said this to you for a couple of seasons, you have to use, and it didn't look like it was last season, when you finished second for the second time round, that pain should have genuinely carried you through to be able to get it over the line.
Facts.
But he's never been able to channel that and actually utilize that energy to do it this season for his own sake and his own pride. He's got to go out and do it. Because look, at the end of the day, right, Arteta was teed up with that Real Madrid job from the same time that Xabi Alonso was, Xabi pipped them to the job. Why? Because Xabi won first. Xabi was a winner. Madrid was like, right, when we're going to replace Don Carlo, we're going to look for another Spaniard that can kick us on and can be a bit more of a youthful manager, the same way Nagelsmann does the Germany job and all the rest of it, come from a good German setup in club team, then can go and do head coach, that type of deal. We want the same. Okay, we've identified Xabi Alonso, we've identified Mikel Arteta. Okay, yeah, let's see what they do. Mikel Arteta's still waiting to show that he can be a winner. That's why Madrid went the other way. Had Mikel Arteta been on job, beat Pep, beat Klopp, beat a Slot to a league title, he would probably be the Madrid manager now, and you'd be looking in the market for a new manager. That's probably a universe out there somewhere. But he hasn't been able to do it. So until he's able to do it for his own pride, he's going to miss out on big opportunities in this footballing world, because teams are looking at him and say, "You're an early man." Look at Brendan Rodgers' trajectory after he left us. He's not managed a massive club since. All right, yeah, you could say Celtic for the country and for Scotland, big club, but he hasn't done anything of note since, because you had the chance at a huge institution and you crumbled under the pressure. So why would the next team, why would City, why would Chelsea, why would they look at him? They won't. And that's where Arteta will be. Until he can prove otherwise, he will be pigeonholed as the nearly man that will not get the biggest jobs in world football, because, well, yeah, he just can't get it over the line. That's his deficiency.
And that's what he's got to do this year, man, for me. My last question for you, bro, is actually about Arteta, because if he is to win a domestic cup and that's it, some people are saying that's not enough. Some people are saying it's got to be the Premier League or the Champions League. Now, I think if people said Mikel Arteta's got to win the Champions League or he's got to go, I think that's incredibly harsh, because we've never won it, right? Wenger couldn't do it. All the previous managers couldn't do it, right? So I think that's incredibly harsh. But I understand why people say it's got to be one of the big ones or he's got to go, because this is what it was built up for. We didn't put together a team, spend this much money on it, and say we just got to get a Carabao Cup first. Now I know we've just spoken about that and said that
You
we
do
would
that.
take that.
You do that into year 2, year 3, you're fine. Year 6.
Exactly. So where are you at then? If he wins a domestic cup, comes second, goes out of everything else, does he stay or do you think he should go? Because my argument was there, all right, and a lot of people have said, a lot of people call me
See, I've
toxic and
listened to
negative,
you.
right?
I've listened to you, and I've listened to some of the Arsenal fans that sit on your side of the fence,
Yeah,
and you just want the silverware to justify you staying in your job. Give us the silverware, and we can
yeah.
put the context around it, and we can have the conversation. And I
I just
think,
want a trophy, basically.
yeah, and
Do
I
you know
think
what I
that's
mean?
quite an objective way to look at it. If you bring us a trophy, we'll measure it against all the other context that's happened within the season, and we'll put the two together, and we'll say, should you stay, should you go?
He's got to
I
compete though, Errol, as well. It's not like
Yeah,
just win a Carabao Cup. I don't care if you come fifth, just win a Carabao
you
Cup.
can't
No,
do it. You
he's
can't do
got
what Spurs and
facts
bloody
and bloody
Man
Ten
U did
Hag's
last
done and all
season.
that. Nah,
No, you
nah.
can't do that. You've got to look like you could have won it all. Like, if right, so Arsenal are in the situation that Liverpool were in 22, 23, I want to say it was, where we nearly win it all. You know, we only come away with the FA Cup and we come away with the Carabao Cup. You take it to the last day of the Prem and you take it to a Champions League final. I think you've got to give him his flowers. When you put that kind of context,
Yeah,
that
that's fair.
he comes away with 2 trophies and he's in every competition until the last day. He kicked the last ball in every competition. All right, he doesn't win the big ones. Fair enough. However, if he just does the other, what you've just said there, it's just a Carabao Cup and there's nothing else around it, I think he should be sacked. And I think if he doesn't win, he should. I think if it doesn't look like he's going to win the league, and your run in the Champions League looks trickier than what he's capable of doing, if Arsenal had any ambition, they would sack him if there was an available manager in the market to see out the season and give you the momentum to get something over the line. Like, that's just how I genuinely feel. Arsenal need to show that they can be strong in doing that. They didn't do it with Arsene Wenger, and I understood that because of the legacy of the man and what he for the club. They gave him an Emery till the end of the season, and they gave him into the next season, didn't they?
Yeah,
They gave him
yeah. A
into the
few
next
months
season
to the next season, yeah, till Christmas basically, and then
till
Arteta
Christmas.
come in.
They need to replicate that. And again, look what happened when you did that. Arteta, without his players, again, at the time, probably weren't as good as what you've currently got, still managed to win an FA Cup. If it looks like it's going to go down the same road, I would urgently advise, as a Liverpool fan, keep him. But as just thinking as a football guy, you have to get rid of him and go for somebody that can come and win now. Because
do you think we could win the league though this season? Do you think are you giving Arsenal any chance? No chance at all. Okay.
The league is done, bro. The league is done.
So with Gyökeres, Rodrigo, Eze, if let's just say we're dreaming for a minute, you still think Arsenal no chance?
No, the league, as I say, Arsenal get to 90 points, and me and you will have a conversation about the title race.
Okay. That's fair, man.
That's where I think we're at, because I think Liverpool will be in and around the 90 points, and then if Arsenal are in and around it, then it's like, right, it could be a couple game shootout. But you've got to get to that point first before I will consider it worthy. Because I remember.
But do you think the board would sack him though, Errol? Like real talk, do you think the owners would sack him? Because as long as he gets top 4, I don't think Kroenkes are bothered really.
The thing is, for me though, lad, top 4 is not even impressive anymore. Like when Arsene Wenger was getting top 4, yeah, there was probably 5 teams that really year in year out. City was starting to be the team that were coming to unsettle the apple cart, but there was only not. There's about 6 teams, 7 teams. And England have got 5 teams, 6 teams already in the Champions League. So the bar to entry for Champions League now is lowered. We've actually lowered the bar to entry for English teams to get into that competition.
But then again, I don't think the Kroenkes look at it as an achievement. They look at it as money. So if he's bringing money in, they're happy, bro. Look, I could be wrong. Maybe the Kroenkes are going, look, man, you got to win a Premier League or a Champions League or you are going to go. Maybe they've changed. But I know what these Kroenkes are about, bruv. Since we've got into the Champions League, this is the only summer we look like we're spending serious money, because Rice was bought in and I'm like, okay, here we go. But that wasn't like, oh my God, we bought 5 like that. That was the only one we bought. And since then, he's been the only one we've bought. So now we're looking at being linked with Gyökeres, who, by the way, is less than Havertz. Madueke, who is less than Pepe and Havertz. It's not like we're going mad in the window. So since the Champions League qualifications, we haven't really done anything big. When we were in the Europa League, we bought in Partey, Gabriel, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Kieran Tierney,
To
Martin
push the
Odegaard,
is that
Ben White, to get us back into the Champions League. Now we're there, we're like, oh, okay, relax. We're in the Champions League.
Manana will kick it.
I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. So
I think from a competitive standpoint, I can't give you the same credit that I gave Arsene Wenger for finishing in a competition with a lower barrier to entry.
Fair.
I just can't. I can't back it in the same way. So from that perspective, I'm like, if it's easy to now get into the Champions League, there's more routes into the Champions League. You're not actually really that special for being in it. Newcastle, Villa, they've been in it. They've been knocking on the door. Like Leicester, not like no. As far as I'm concerned, in order for him to, and that's the other thing, 6 years is a very long time for any manager in any club in world football to be. Does he not want another challenge, or is he just fixated on winning with Arsenal? And then what does he do once he's won? Because that would be the next conversation. If he goes on to win, do you just clap him and send him off into the sunset and say, thank you, you go down as a legend, hurrah? Or do you just keep him and say, this is our, this is our Shankly, this is our Fergie, this is our Wenger 2.0, and we're going to keep you for the next 10 years. That's what you're in, that kind of dangerous territory with Mikel Arteta. But in terms of his management style, in terms of I want to see Arsenal from a purely competitive standpoint go back to 2023-2024 season, where you were bopping teams off the park. You came flying out of the blocks. You had a strong start of the season, yet you were ahead in terms of watching the league for a number of weeks. And I want you to play football like you're prepared to beat anybody. I don't like this pragmatic, we're going to try and score one goal.
The ball in, set piece FC.
Long ball. That's not what I remember as Arsenal. And I think he has found a version before, and he might need to find a bit of a balance. But I think your fans would give you much more belief. I think there'd be a lot more confidence around the squad. And I think he would have a lot better a time of it if he went back to at least saying, you know what, I'm going to take the handbrake off and I'm just going to go for hell for leather all season. And if we come up short, then at least I know I've given absolutely everything to the delivery of us winning many games as possible. But the last thing you want in 12 months' time is a season full of regrets pots. I wish we would have done this. I wish we would have done that. I wish we wouldn't have benched him for that game. I wish we would have started him, or I wish we would have signed him because he was available. That's the other thing that's going to happen for you this season. You will probably end up watching Rodrigo go to another club, or because you couldn't afford to buy him because you went and bought some Chelsea shit.
Mate, if that happens, it's a sackable.
These are the regrets. These are the regrets that are going to start creeping into Arsenal's fan base.
If that is the case, the window rating goes down for me. If that's the case, if we bought Madueke and we now can't afford Rodrigo, look, I've got no problems with us going for Rodrigo and he chooses another club. That's fine. But have the ambition.
And that's the same with us with Isak. I've got no problem if he says I'm not going this season, but go out there and say he's the guy that we want.
Man. Facts. Have the ambition, man. So that's what we got to see. But look, we've got to come to a close. Big up for coming on, my bro. I really appreciate you.
Oh, it's been too long. I sent it to Testy this morning. I was like, lad, how have we not done a little one-on-one for a long time, bro?
It's so mad, bro. It's mad. But the summer and time takes its toll on us and we just move away and it just gets in the way, man. But our last super chat of the day is from Jim, who says, I don't care about Isak to Liverpool. I'm happy with Victor. There's a lot of Arsenal fans saying that. You've got to believe and back what Gyökeres is going to do. I think he is going to bag for us. Whether it's going to be enough to win us the league, I'm still a couple of players short for my liking. So let's see what happens in the next few weeks. But big up to everybody that's locked in. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you hit subscribe. Do me a favor, sub to Errol as well. Aaron's put his channel in the chat. Big up to you, Aaron. And make sure that you are.
I'm going to shout him as well
on that one as well.
Friday, Red Cartel will be back. So I'm going to be shouting some of the regulars for that one.
There we go, man. Make sure you're following Redmen TV too. You'll see me on there as and when. You'll see Aaron on there as well. So big up to everyone that's here. Make sure you're following Match Bingo. That's live in the chat now, or it's live in the description. Make sure you download the app and start playing. People are winning, and Gooners are at the moment top of the table. So if you're not an Arsenal fan, you got to get Match Bingo, win, and tell me, and you'll catch up. The other thing I need you to do, you're going to be redirected to Joe. Just Joe is talking about Leeds, and I need you to do me a favor, people. I need you to go over there. I need you to get in his chat. And I need to ask him how many Arsenal players he wants. Does he want Lokonga? Does he want Fabio Vieira? Does he want to take Alexander Zinchenko? Does he want to take any of our dusty dusty players. So please go and ask him. Go show him some love. We're going to send you over there. We'll be back next time. I'm dropping something at 6 o'clock. So you'll see me then. Until next time, I'll see you tomorrow. We're out of here. Latest, people.